They were the most beautiful objects ever created. 3 jewels that held the untainted light of the 2 trees of Valinor. The Silmarils were the crowning work of Fëanor, the greatest of all elves, an attempt to capture the essence of a world before shadow. But what if that light was too pure for the world that remained? What if the Silmarils did more than inspire wonder? What if they awakened obsession, pride, and madness in every heart that beheld them? Today, on the Arda Chronicles, we uncover the story of how 3 jewels born of light became the seed of doom that nearly unraveled Middle-earth. A reminder that even the brightest beauty can cast the deepest shadow. To understand the tragedy of the Silmarils, we have to start with their creator, Fëanor. Fëanor's genius was undeniable. His spirit burned hotter than any forge, his skill so vast that even the Valar, the godlike beings of the world, marveled at his work. He poured his entire essence into the making of the Silmarils, capturing the pure, living radiance of the 2 trees in crystal shells of his own devising. They glowed with an inner life, shifting between silver and gold, and it was said that within them lay the memory of a world untouched by darkness. But that beauty came with a cost. For in the very act of creation, a flaw took root, not in the jewels, but in Fëanor himself. He didn't simply make something beautiful, he made something he could never bear to lose. He began to see the Silmarils not as gifts to the world, but as an extension of his own soul. His love for them was possessive, fierce, and consuming, the kind of love that doesn't share. And that is where the first shadow fell. The Silmarils were hallowed by Varda, Queen of the Stars, to remain forever pure. No unclean hand could touch them without being burned. That sanctity was meant as protection, but it became something more dangerous. It created the illusion that they were divine, untouchable, worth any cost to possess. And when light becomes a thing to be owned, it ceases to be a blessing and starts to become a curse. Then came the first great tragedy. The Dark Lord Melkor, the most powerful of the Valar who had turned to evil, coveted the jewels. In alliance with the monstrous spider Ungoliant, he struck at the heart of Valinor, poisoning the 2 trees and plunging the world into darkness. In the chaos, Melkor murdered Fëanor's father, Finwë, and stole the Silmarils. When Fëanor learned of this, grief gave way to fury, and that fury became the spark that would ignite the First Age. Fëanor's anguish consumed him. The light of the world was gone. His father was slain, and his greatest creation, the Silmarils, had been stolen. In that moment, vengeance became his only truth. Before the assembled hosts of the Noldor, he delivered a speech that would be remembered for all time. He called upon his kin to leave Valinor, to follow him into exile, to reclaim the stolen jewels from Morgoth, for that was the name Melkor would come to bear, the black foe of the world. But Fëanor didn't just call for justice, He demanded allegiance sealed by blood. There, beneath the darkened skies of the Blessed Realm, Fëanor and his 7 sons swore an oath before Ilúvatar himself, the greatest and most terrible oath ever spoken by elves. They vowed to pursue the Silmarils to the ends of the earth, and to slay without mercy any being, mortal, immortal, or divine, who withheld them. In their words, they invoked eternal darkness upon themselves if they failed. It was not an oath of hope or restoration. It was an oath of possession, obsession, given divine authority. And in that moment, the curse of the Silmarils deepened. The jewels had already ensnared their maker's heart. Now they bound his entire bloodline to an unending chain of tragedy. To reach Middle-earth and chase Morgoth, Fëanor needed ships. The finest belonged to the Teleri, the sea elves of Alqualondë. But the Teleri refused. They would not aid what they saw as madness and pride. Fëanor's rage broke reason. He ordered his followers to take the ships by force. The result was horror beyond imagining: the kinslaying at Alqualondë. For the first time in the history of the elves, brother slew brother. The shores of Valinor ran red with elven blood. The sea that had known only song and starlight was filled with screams. That single act shattered the innocence of the elves forever. The Valar pronounced their doom. Fëanor and his house were exiled, cursed to bring grief to all lands they touched. Yet they went on, burning ships behind them, cutting off those who would follow by the dangerous northern ice. The Noldor's pride had become its own chain, and the light they sought to reclaim had already begun to devour them. When Fëanor and his sons reached Middle-earth, they waged war with all the fury of their vow. For a time, they triumphed. Their blades gleamed in the starlight, and Morgoth was driven back into his fortress of Angband. But victory was short-lived. The shadow they carried within, the unrelenting need to reclaim what was theirs, corroded every alliance, every act of hope. Years passed, generations rose and fell, and the Silmarils remained locked in Morgoth's iron crown. Yet their influence endured. Even unseen, the jewels stirred hearts to envy and desire, and once more, tragedy found its way into the story. It began with Beren, a mortal man, and Lúthien, the daughter of Thingol, king of Doriath. Their love was forbidden, and when Beren sought Lúthien's hand, Thingol demanded an impossible price: a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown. It was meant as a challenge, a death sentence, but Beren and Lúthien defied it. Together, they did what entire armies could not. They infiltrated Angband itself, and by courage, song, and sacrifice, they stole one of the 3 jewels. That victory should have been a triumph, a moment of hope amid despair. Instead, it became another wound. The Silmaril was brought to Thingol, who at first marveled at its light. But that same light began to twist within him. The more he gazed upon it, the more he desired to claim it, not as a relic of heroism, but as his own possession. He ordered it set into the Nauglamir, a magnificent necklace forged by dwarves. And as the dwarves worked, they too fell under the spell of the jewel's perfection. When the work was finished, Thingol demanded it return to him, but the dwarves refused. Anger flared, pride met pride. In a violent struggle, Thingol was slain. The dwarves fled with the jewel, but vengeance followed them. The once great halls of Doriath, home of Lúthien and her kin, fell into ruin. The Silmarils' light had inspired a war between two noble peoples who had once stood side by side against darkness. The curse had spread from one heart to one house to entire realms. And the tragedy did not end there. For when Fëanor's surviving sons learned that a Silmaril was in Doriath, their oath reawakened. They descended upon the shattered kingdom, cutting down elves who had done them no wrong. The second kinslaying turned the once golden legacy of the Noldor into a stain that could never be cleansed. What began as a quest for redemption had become a trail of corpses, each step guided by light that should have been holy. Centuries passed, and the world burned with war. The First Age neared its end. At last, the Valar intervened. Their hosts came across the sea, and the War of Wrath was waged, the greatest conflict ever seen in Arda. Morgoth was overthrown, and his iron crown was broken. The Silmarils were finally recovered. But by then, Fëanor was long dead. Only two of his sons remained, Maedhros and Maglor. They were haunted men, weary, guilt-ridden, and hollowed out by the weight of their father's oath. They had seen brothers fall, kingdoms die, and oceans swallow entire lands. Yet still, the vow chained them. They could not let go. When the Valar refused to give the Silmarils to them, deeming them unworthy, the brothers did the unthinkable once again. They stole them. And that was their final undoing. The moment they held the jewels, the light they had long worshipped turned against them. The Silmarils, hollowed to burn any unclean hand, scorched their flesh and spirit alike. They had shed too much innocent blood, broken too many oaths. The light they had sacrificed everything to reclaim now rejected them utterly. In agony, Maedhros threw himself and his Silmaril into a fiery chasm, choosing death over endless torment. Maglor, overcome with despair, cast his jewel into the sea and wandered the shores of the world, singing laments that could never end. And so, the last of Fëanor's line vanished, consumed by the same fire that once illuminated their greatness. The Silmarils had outlived their makers, their kingdoms, and their wars. But their curse, if it could be called that, was never a spell. It was the echo of desire unchecked, of light misunderstood. In the end, the Silmarils were scattered, each finding a resting place beyond reach. One was lost to the fiery heart of the earth. One sank beneath the sea, swallowed by timeless depths. And one was carried into the sky by Eärendil the mariner, set upon his brow as a star, forever watching the world below. They remain separated, never to meet again, never to be claimed by mortal or immortal hands. And perhaps that was the mercy the world needed. So, was there truly a curse upon the Silmarils? In truth, they were not evil. They held only the pure light of creation. But that purity made them mirrors, reflecting the hearts of those who desired them. Those driven by pride saw glory. Those filled with envy saw power. And those who sought to possess them found themselves consumed. The Silmarils did not destroy Middle-earth through dark magic or foul will. They revealed what was already hidden within: greed, jealousy, obsession, and the tragic inability to let go. Through them, Tolkien showed one of his deepest truths: that the greatest evils often come not from darkness itself, but from the corruption of good, from love that becomes ownership, from faith that turns into fanaticism, from beauty that is claimed rather than shared. The story of the Silmarils is not only a myth of creation and loss, it's a warning that even the purest light can blind those who refuse to see beyond it. That obsession, even for something good, can twist the noblest hearts into ruin. And so the three jewels endure, one in the heavens, one in the fire, one beneath the waves, eternal, untouchable, and forever apart. Their light still shines, but their lesson burns brighter. The Silmarils' hidden curse was never in their making. It was in the hearts of those who couldn't bear to let them go. Another tale awaits: the forging of the rings, and how fair seeming learned to mask a will of rule. The story continues.